there, welcome to the RetroSaber podcast, where we always take the high ground. Normally this is a podcast where I sit here and I rant on about my own views, opinions, feelings about something to do with the world of video games. But today what I'm going to be looking at is a particular series of videos that I did, but I did not do it alone. This series was what we called RetroDuels. And I did that with one legend of YouTube, Raza is Retro. So I couldn't possibly look back at those without being joined by Raza is Retro. So I have him with me here today. Hello, Raza.
Hello, Saber. Thank you for having me. I was looking quite forward to doing this podcast for sure. RetroDuels was very, very special for both you and I. So it'll be nice to, look back and talk about some of the experiences we shared while filming these episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite interesting because I know we'll go on to, for those listening, we will go into what RetroDuels was for those that haven't seen them, where it came from and all that sort of stuff. But it's quite interesting that, as I remember it, we actually spoke about doing a podcast like this about RetroDuels before we even started filming it, didn't we?
Yeah, most definitely. From what I recall, we've collaborated before as well, and if I recall correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory is not the best at 73 years old. Um, Basically, we wanted to do something where we can engage together, something gaming related, possibly us playing some games or just talking about games like you said. I think one of the point that made it easy for us to kind of go in the direction of, okay, let's play a game together, was the very fact that both of us owned a Nintendo Switch.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm thinking back because I remember this isn't actually the first time you've been on a podcast on my channel, is it? Because you actually came on a podcast a while back where we just had a big old chat about these Street Fighter 2 games. And I know there's lots of Street Fighter games, but I think for those that sort of were there in the 90s, the Street Fighter 2 was like almost like its own series, its own genre. And we had like a big old conversation about Street Fighter and our love for Street Fighter in that podcast. And I think it was that conversation that led to us. And then, as you said, we wanted to do something gaming related. And it really wasn't much of a stretch. It didn't take much thought or convincing for us to decide that what we were going to do should be something to do with Street Fighter. Certainly that's how I remember it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It came about like you said, and like I mentioned as well, that I was part of your podcast as well. We did a couple of collaborations on your channel. You also did a collab with me on my channel with the Sean and Rise Cup. So we had obviously a big interest in gaming. We also have a wrestling interest as well, a sports interest, but especially when it came to retro gaming. Um, Old school 90s, Street Fighter was something that we've discussed quite a lot, especially like you said on that podcast, which I think also we discussed during I don't know if it was the same podcast where you did a bit of an introduction about my channel, right?
Absolutely.
Who I was,
Yeah.
and where I was coming from, and I believe Street Fighter was mentioned there. I don't recall now if it was in the same podcast or not, but yes, we had a lengthy conversation about Street Fighter, and yeah, as I remember it, we basically wanted to do something where we can engage, play a video game. I think when you mentioned Street Fighter 2, there was no hesitation on my end. I said that makes perfect sense. So let's go with that.
Yeah, that's definitely how I remember it. And I remember because I remember it was middle of the day my time anyway, and we were having quite a lengthy conversation where we were thinking about, so we want to do something that's Street Fighter 2 related. We want to do something that we can make content that's both of our channels. And we stumbled across the idea of, well, let's do a series of videos where we fight against each other. I think quite early on the concept, even before it had a name, I think the concept of, well, you've got 8 or 12 characters, depending on which version we were using, because we hadn't quite decided whether it would just be Street Fighter 2 or like Turbo Championship. But we've got all these characters. Why not just play as each of them at the same time? So Ryu versus Ryu, Guile versus Guile, Blanca versus Blanca. And I think that we roughly had that idea quite early on, didn't we? That formed quite quickly, really.
Yeah, from what I remember, I mean, the idea was, I mean, if you're gonna be playing Street Fighter with somebody, that's the only way you can play it, right? One-on-one type of thing. So that was the way to go, in sense that, okay, we'll play Street Fighter against each other via the Nintendo Switch Online, and see how things progress. But then, in terms of how we wanted to do the matchup, I think I was the one that kind of suggested, like, why don't we just do mirror matches, just
Yeah.
because it will even it out, it'll make it simpler. Whereas if you go by random or any other way, there's always an advantage and a disadvantage. So I always felt that mirror match, and this isn't just for Street Fighter, this is just for any fighting game for that matter, is always kind of like the best way to go. Especially in although this is a friendly competition, but in a competition, I feel like that's the best way to go. And yeah, from what I recall, I mean, it was doing something Street Fighter, doing it with you, and then coming up with the idea, okay, let's go ahead and do mirror matches. And then I think you also mentioned, okay, let's kind of have like a point system in place. Like, it all just made sense to me personally.
Yeah, because I think we went with, if I remember the rules properly now, so we had each fight in Street Fighter 2 is a best of 3, but you can win it in
Right.
2 games, but it's a best of 3. So what we did was we'd have 3 full fights. So I think it was the most wins was the actual decider. So if you beat me twice on Guile and I won once on Guile, that was you'd won that week, but I still got 1 point to your 2. So that was sort of like it was almost like 2 competitions within one or something like that. The one thing, and it's only now that I've mentioned it, the one thing I don't really remember was, because we ended up using Street Fighter 2 Turbo, it's called here. I know in other countries it's called Hyper Fighting, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know, did we ever discuss, because we used that one, we didn't use Championship Edition, which I just wondered, why did we ever decide that, or did we just happen to land on Turbo?
So from what I remember, is like, just going back, like I think the way it started first was, I'm gonna have to kind of remember a little back here. It's like, first, we agreed to going with Street Fighter, then with the mirror matches that I brought up, and then the point system which you brought up. And if I remember correctly, because I think you mentioned this point, which was good, is like, if somebody wins at least one fight, they should be rewarded, which made sense to me as well.
Yeah.
That you brought that up. So that made the competition more interesting, I find, because rather than if you just win the whole series of fight or whatever, and the person gets 1 point or 2 points, having that point for, let's say, the loser of that week makes things interesting, especially in terms of points and standings. But in regards to how we went about the game, and I think it was mutual. I think we both mentioned it. Was that with Super Street Fighter 2, which is my favorite version, there was a lot of characters, right? Where you had 16.
Yeah.
And with the original Street Fighter, there was 8, which felt a little short. So if I recall correctly, I think we both kind of were like, well, this fits perfectly because it's 12. So it's not too much and it's not too little. And if in the future other games are to be used, and that can be considered as well. But I think it came down to the fact that 12 seemed like a number that would work well.
So yeah, and then I suppose the one other sort of that this one bit of the conversation's almost a little bit about the pre-work. I suppose the one other thing is where the name came from, and I remember, because the name RetroDuels, we were umming and ahhing between our channels' names and the different things that we use within our channels. And I remember you saying it was you that came up with it, and because I remember you said RetroDuels. And instantly it just landed, because mine's Saber Duel Gaming, yours is Raza is Retro. It was a duel between 2 gamers. We're both retro channels. It was the moment you said it, I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's it. And I remember you kept saying, well, it doesn't have to be that. It could be something else. And then you were like, but it could be this. And I was like, no, just stop suggesting. Just you've hit gold. It was perfect. And I just loved the name RetroDuel because it wasn't even Street Fighter specific. It left open options for future sort of series, future seasons of it. But yeah, you came out with that name, and I just absolutely loved it. I don't know if do you remember that? Do you remember that sort of the same way?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm the one that came up with it. But in all seriousness, like,
Trademark.
yeah, I
Stamped.
remember. I remember because I remember we were thinking, right? We're kind of going back and forth, and it for me, yeah, it was obviously the thing of including the names together for sure, but it just made sense too, right? Like you said, you described it perfectly, right? That we're both retro channels, we're both dueling against each other technically, right?
Yeah.
So when I just said okay, retro duels, like I knew in the back of my mind like this sounds really good, and I figured that you would like it, but when I was saying that. Like, are you sure you want me to go with this? It's just because I just wanted to see maybe if you had something else in mind as well. That's just my Canadian side, coming out and being like, okay, well, hey, you sure that's you sure that's okay? But no, honestly, yeah, it worked out perfectly. And again, for me, the main point is that it had both of our channels names in it essentially, and it just fit perfectly with what we're doing. And you made another great point too, that if this is something we plan to do in the future of more retro duels. Then it's not just exclusive to to Street Fighter. But for me, like when I was thinking about names, I wanted to really include something you know gaming related that represented both of our channels. So while I was thinking, I remember I think one name came up like RetroSaber or something like that, or Saber Retro, and then I was like, no, that doesn't sound too good. And then just like that, RetroDuels. So it thankfully it flowed well perfectly, and looking back at it and talking about it, honestly, it really suits both of our channels
Yeah.
and what we're doing with this essentially with this segment, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think what was particularly good about it was, whilst it took elements from both of our channels' names, it didn't actually sound like it belonged to just one of us. Like if it was called
Exactly.
RetroDuels or Saber Retro or something, it would sound like it
Yeah.
was my thing or your thing that the other one was on. And I think what we really wanted to make sure was that people knew this was very much a shared project. Every episode
Exactly.
is on both of our
Exactly.
channels in full. So it's not like you have to look at both. We sort of took it in turns who posted first, but the
Yes.
entire
Exactly.
series is on mine. The entire series is on yours. And beat for beat, the same video effect. I think the thumbnails are slightly different, but on the whole, it's the same video. So it's not something that belonged to either of us. And I think that was perfect, really. And yeah, and I suppose so. I sort of want to wait and leave the sort of the behind the scenes stuff till the end, because that's probably
Yeah.
the goofiest stuff. Because I think what you actually see on the channel, and we'll talk in a minute, I suppose, more about the actual episodes and what we think of them, how they've been received and stuff. But I want to leave till the end the behind the scenes stuff, because that's where these really classy, well put, I think they're reasonably well put together videos. The behind the scenes stuff for them was an absolute mess sometimes, the chaos behind us making them. So I'll leave that till the end, because that's probably the funnier part.
Okay.
So the way we put them out, I think we recorded a few fights at a time, didn't we? But the way we sort of worked through the order of it was, we started with Ryu. For those that know Street Fighter 2, you've got your selection screen with all of your characters on, and it's sort of like a rectangle grid, 2 high and what is it, 8, 9, 10 across or something like that. Whatever it is, 9 across. I can't remember now. 8, 9, yeah, 10. So we sort of started with Ryu. So the first episode was Ryu versus Ryu, and then we sort of went from left to right. downwards, and then straight back. And I remember the reason we did it that way was because we didn't want to do Ryu and Ken anywhere near each other because they're effectively the same fighter. So we did it that way so that we could space them two out. But that first episode, that one, when that came out, so we both put that on our channels. I can't remember which one of us posted it first, but there was only sort of like a 2-day difference between them. I'm curious, that first episode that went on your channel, how was that received? How did that episode do?
Yeah, most definitely. I'll just touch point on something you mentioned because that was a very important detail, and that was something that you thought of, which I think needs to be appreciated as well, is the fact that we started with Ryu, and rather than dropping down to Ken, we just went like forward and then down and then towards Ken. I thought that was perfect that you came up with that idea, because like you said, essentially they're both the same fighter. But I thought also it was epic to start off with Ryu and to finish off with Ken. Those are the two most iconic fighters in the Street Fighter 2 series. And to start off with, in my opinion, the most iconic, and then to finish off with, the runner-up iconic, I thought that just made things even more special. I just wanted to throw that out there. And again, that was your idea that you came up with, and it just made perfect sense. So that was great stuff. Regards to the first episode, it was received really well. I believe you posted yours first, and then I posted mine a couple of days after, like you said. And then we followed that pattern where the second episode was I posted first, and then you posted a couple of days after, and then the third episode. So, we would take turns as to who would post first and second. But the first episode was it was received quite well. I think it was actually my most viewed episode, right? It had about 96 views. And a lot of people were engaged in it. A lot of great people commented as well. And again, because it was the first episode, right? So having a really good first episode was important. Regardless of the number of views, just starting off with a bang, I think was really important. And I think starting off with Ryu, the way how the matchups played, if I recall correctly, especially for that first round, was really good as well. So it was received quite well, and I think it really just kicked off the start of the start of something special. Same question for you, actually, if you don't mind me asking. How was it received on your end? What was the sort of feedback that you got? How did you feel after posting that first episode?
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, I think it's unsurprising. I know we discussed this a little bit beforehand, but yeah, the first episode was the most well received for me. I think I noticed a lot on my channel where if you do a series of videos, as they go along, some people don't watch as many of them. So often the first one is the highest. So if the first one gets a really like high number of views or interaction, I don't expect it to stay always that high. And I think we're both very much the same in that we don't necessarily do these things and go, wow, it only matters if it gets good interaction or if it gets lots of views. And we do it because we like them and we enjoy making them. We enjoy the interaction with their subscribers and other YouTubers. I mean, that one for me got 211 views, about 12 comments, which was fantastic. I don't often get lots and lots of comments. So the fact that 12 different people commented, some of them were people that I don't really see a lot on my channel. I mean, there's obviously comments from yourself, comments from people like PJ Venom. Shout out to PJ Venom, who's awesome. He always takes the time to comment on people's videos. He's an absolute legend. So, but there was actually comments on there from people that I never see on my channel. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that one as well because Ryu is one of the few characters that I can probably play as well now as I used to back in my gaming prime, so to speak, back when I had the SNES myself. Back then I could play really well on quite a few characters. Ryu was one of the ones that I can still play pretty good now, and that was a really strong episode. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, Ryu and Ken, along with Sagat, I suppose, are the characters that were in the original Street Fighter game. They're certainly among the most recognizable. So those two being separated, I think, was the best call. But yeah, it started really strong, and I was really pleased with that, because you do know these things sort of tail off a little bit at certain times. And I also remember, I don't know if you remember this, but we sort of did it, and it was coming up to around, it's probably get a little bit later in the year than now, as they were being posted in the build up to the holiday seasons and stuff. And I remember we discussed beforehand, man, as it gets towards the different holidays, so Halloween, Christmas, New Year, Thanksgiving, wherever you are in the world, and all the other sorts of different religious festivals and stuff that are celebrated around that time of year, there's going to be a drop-off, because people don't watch as much YouTube around then. So I was really pleased that it did so well, because I thought, oh, that's good. At least it gave me good hope that the rest of the series were going to at least get a good few views, and they did seem to. They did seem to. I'm curious though. So obviously you mentioned like the first one was like the most well received. Not to pick on certain characters, because I don't even know that it's anything to do with the characters, if I'm honest. But I am curious which character dragged in your poorest performance? Not as in how you played, but views and stuff like that. Which one do we blame?
Well, I don't even know if I should say this, because I actually have a lot of love for this character as well. But for whatever reason, if we're talking about views, that is, I remember I actually enjoyed the episode quite a bit myself. In terms of the fights, I think they were quite close, if I recall correctly. But regardless, it was Chun-Li. Chun-Li had the least amount of views, which is shocking, because she's also an iconic character as well.
Definitely is.
If we're going on that base, but basically, I think she had about 32 views. But to be fair, that was towards the end as well. And it's like you said, with these type of things, as the episodes progress, then it's normal that the viewership goes down a bit. But for me, in terms of like actual enjoyment, like I remember that episode that quite well, because I was using a lot of the jump kick tactics with Chun-Li, and I like using that tactic. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I don't know what happened there per se, but yeah, that was the one that had the least amount of views for me.
See, I can say very clearly, and I'm absolutely fine with who got the least views for me, which was Dalsim. I hate Dalsim. Stretchy little prick. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
It's just, I remember we spoke about playing as Dalsim before we played, because I can't remember if it was Dalsim. There was one character that we both agreed we were crap with. But
yeah,
I'd said, and I'd said beforehand, I was like, the problem with Dalsim is if someone is really good with Dalsim, they will beat you. Yeah. No matter who you are, they will beat you. But if you're not world class with Dalsim, there's only one. You're either world class with him or you're crap with him. I very much fit into that crap character category.
Same. Same, and it's exactly like that. He's one of those that, like, man, if you know how to play as him, well, I mean, I guess the same could be said for any character, but it is true. What I've noticed with Dalsim is like guys or girls that know how to play with him, like they do so well, and they can go up against any character, because if you know how to play with him, he can be he could be quite to your advantage, right? He can stretch. Excuse me. He could throw the fireballs, the yoga flame, all that. He's a good utility character, if I could say, but you have to know how to use him.
Yeah.
And in your case and in my case, unfortunately, we don't. And although not Street Fighter 2, but when I had Xbox 360, when I would play online Super Street Fighter 4, same thing, Dalsim. I didn't like using him, but when I'd play online, some of the people that would play as Dalsim were just insane in terms of the skill level that they had. And he's actually in Street Fighter 2, he's actually the slowest character as well, by the way. So that's another thing that makes him quite difficult to use, in my opinion.
He's got so much range, because he can hit from such distance. He's got the yoga flame, the yoga fire, but he's also got that teleport, which is so hard to do. But if you master that, you can just teleport up behind someone, set fire to them, disappear. And it's a nightmare. So the fact that I think that was 31 views, which was my lowest views in the series, And I have this image in my head that people tuned in and were like, oh, it's these guys again. I love these guys. Who are they playing as? Dalsim. Oh, sod that. And just turned the video off and just left. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
But the other thing, sorry, just quickly talking about Dalsim, is that he also had, like you said, he had range, but he's very slow as well, which was one of my pet peeves. But one thing that people also tend to forget as well is that when Dalsim, when he would grab you, when he would just grab you and he would do those series of punches to your head, where he'd go yoga, 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 and he'd do like about maybe 5 or 10 punches straight. That would take off a lot of damage as well.
Oh yeah.
So there's so much you could do with him if you know how to use him, but it comes down to if you actually know how to use him. I guess luckily for both of us, we didn't know how to use him that well, so
we mutually sucked with Dalsim.
I think it planned out. I don't know. I don't remember who won that particular episode, but I know we both struggled, and I think that's what made at least that one interesting, regardless of the, regardless of the number of views. I think the fact that we mutually were not good with him, and there were several characters that we did struggle with, that made things interesting. One that comes to mind, not necessarily struggle, but more like we kind of did a defensive tactic, was when we had to play as Balrog.
Oh God, that must have been the most boring video I have on my channel, because it was just constantly backing away, and then occasionally charge punch, back away. Like I felt literally as I was posting that on my channel, I was like, I was so embarrassed to put this out there, because this, like, as people are watching it, I imagine them being like, this is crap. Like, hit each other. But we were both so scared, because as soon as you charge forward, if you don't reach, the other one then just does it to you and knocked you out. That was painful, that whole video.
And that video, actually, because I actually have my YouTube open as we're speaking, that video was about 8 minutes and 49 seconds. Which was actually quite long, because most of them average between 6 to 5 minutes. We had several 8-minute videos as well, of course. But now I know why Chun-Li's was the lowest view, because it was about 9 minutes and 4 seconds. So that's another thing, at least from what I've experienced. This is just in general, YouTube, I'm saying, is that videos that tend to be very long will also have less views, right? So that's what I was able to just digest right now, that Chun-Li had a video of 9 minutes and 4, which was the longest one here. And Balrog was about 8:49. I wonder what the shortest video was. I'm just having a quick look. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. Can you guess what the shortest video was? Which character, or which fight, rather?
I would imagine.
There's a reason why I want to bring it.
Was it the first one?
The first one, right? So it was 5 minutes and 21 seconds. So that's probably another reason why.
There you go. We've cracked the algorithm there.
You want to laugh? Dalsim wasn't long, actually. It was 5 minutes and 23 seconds.
It just felt long. It just felt long.
It did feel long, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw some extra stats there. That's interesting.
So
that's pretty interesting.
So this is the good bit now. This is where you guys listening to this get to find out what it was actually like for us recording this. Again, like I said before, I think the videos we posted looked quite good. We both did voiceover on it. We both did the fights. I'm gonna spill the beans now, Raza, on how we did this a little bit.
Go ahead.
So we while we were playing the game, we were having this is being recorded right now on our phones with us talking on WhatsApp, right? And that is exactly how when we were doing the fights, we're playing on the Switch, and we spoke on WhatsApp whilst we were doing it. The audio that you hear in the videos isn't the conversation we were having. We added that afterwards. So we both logged in on the Switch, we hosted a fight, and this is my gripe here. So the way we had to do it was as soon as the fight started, I don't know if many of you have a Nintendo Switch, but I'm holding mine now, and there's a little button on it. And if you tap it, it takes a screenshot. if you hold it, it records the last 30 seconds. And that's how we had to record the fights. As we're fighting, every 30 seconds, I had to quickly remember to press the record button. And I had to do it every 30 seconds. And oh my God, it is so hard trying to concentrate on a fight and remember to hit record. Now, I will say, in fairness to Raza, he was dead nice and he said, listen, if you want me to go, like, hold back a little bit so you can press record. And I was like, no, because it's still got to feel like a proper game. But oh my God, that was a pain in the arse trying to do.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, and that's something I'm going to touch base on and maybe just add another thing as well, if that's okay. And this is obviously appreciation for everything you've done. What people, I guess, don't realize or didn't realize or didn't know was that, you know, obviously, we both took part, we did our part, but this couldn't have happened without Saber. And I'm not saying that in the sense that, if he wasn't there, uh, who else can I play with? Like he made everything a lot easier and simpler. Like he described with, obviously the whole issue with the screen record. And yes, I do remember that where I'd say, okay, I can step back a bit, no problem. And of course, for us the results wasn't the most important thing. It was just about getting some content out there, some good content out there, two mates just sharing their love for a game. But what one thing people really have to appreciate what Saber did is that all the videos that you see there of putting the clips together, getting the voiceovers together, the thumbnails, the text that you see in the videos, with the names at the bottom, they're color coded as well. The scores at the end, that was all Saber. Saber took the time to do the editing, to make sure that the videos look nice, clean, and concise. He did a really good job on the thumbnails as well. And basically, anytime, after the fights or before the fights, when it was my turn to speak, he would just tell me to send a voice clip, and then he would just take care of the rest. And, that's something that needs to be appreciated by not just me, but by anybody that, enjoyed retro duels, because without him, it wouldn't have been possible. He raised his hand and said, "It's okay, I'll take care of it. I don't mind." Um, you know, and it's not only that he just took care of it, but he literally put a lot of time and effort. So that's why, and I think we both can agree on that the results was not important for us. It was about getting good content
Yeah,
and getting
absolutely.
content that was important to us. Because if it was a result oriented, and sometimes that can happen too, there's nothing wrong with that. That who would want to do all that stuff, right? Okay, well, I'll take care of this, I'll take care of that. Saber knows that I'm a family man and this and that, and even just to do videos myself sometimes, which I mentioned so many times on my channel, is not always that simple. Even though I do simple videos, so just for him to be considerate, thoughtful, I think people should really appreciate that and need to know that fact, that without him it wouldn't have been possible.
I really appreciate that, man. I mean, you touched on being a family man there, and I'm going to share a random story now for everyone. So by the time we got towards the last couple, Raza was sort of breaking away with it. I know we're saying about the results weren't the important thing, and I totally agree with that. My concern was, oh man, if Raza gets too far ahead, no one's going to bother watching the last ones because there's no point. Anyway, to my rescue came a much younger Raza, and whilst we were recording one of the fights, there was a tiny little youngster Raza in the background, constantly distracting him, and he was like, "Oh no, Saber," and I'm like, "Doesn't matter, the fight's on." And I think it's fair to say that a little miniature Raza in the background was a big help in me securing a win, which actually made it so that we could take it right to the final fight. But I do remember hearing the frustration in your voice as you were being mildly distracted there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I remember that. I just don't remember if the kids were off school that day or if they came from school. it was, and now that's a funny thing. I don't know if it was my eldest or my youngest, but it was one or the other. I think it was my youngest at the time. They came and I think they wanted something, and and then you know how kids are, right? They see you playing games or they see you talking on the phone, and I think then she started asking questions like, "Hey, who you talking to?" This and that, and then we're just we're just playing, and like and she was being quite she was being quite funny. But I think in all fairness, it evened things out, right? With all the struggles that you had to do as well. Um, and in terms of struggles, yeah, that was certain things that would come up, right? Because that wasn't the first time. Another time, but that was a very slight distraction. The eldest came; she really wanted something, and I just told her like, "Okay, just grab it." It was somewhere in my room. So when you're recording these things or when you're trying to play, there's distractions that do come up. I think on Saber's case too, you had a distraction as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was with one of your pets.
Oh, I was babysitting a friend's hamster.
There we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was a mild nuisance. Yeah, yeah, it was just I think it's really funny. Like the video that you see on YouTube, the videos are nice and tight and tidy, but as you say, it was a mixture of two people in literally in miles away in very different countries with a 5 hour time difference, trying to
Yeah.
capture time to record to do voice calls, and then playing on the Nintendo Switch, but also recording every 30 seconds, and then each of those 30-second clips has to be QR code scanned, uploaded to a phone, cropped, put back together again, and then I was second sending full fights to Raza for Raza to do voiceovers on for me to splice back into the original video. Raza's got as he mentioned there, Raza's a very committed and very busy family man. We both work as well. There was a lot of things going on. It took a lot of time and effort to do, but I mean, I suppose final thoughts on that. I think for me, it was worth the time and effort. I think it was a fun experience going through those fighters and playing against someone who has as much love for the Street Fighter 2 games as I do. I mean, we both have so much Street Fighter 2 related stuff on our channels. I think it was nice for that. I mean, as you say, we've collaborated on lots of things before. You've done lots on my channel. I've done stuff on yours. And I know we've already spoken about other things we're going to do with each other and on each other's channels, but it was really nice for the first thing we did, which was a mutual thing, to be Street Fighter related, given the love we have for it. And for me personally, I think it was worth all the effort.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And there was another thing too, like you said. I'm just gonna quickly touch base on that and then do my final thoughts, like you said. But the fact that we had a 5 hour difference, right? A lot of the times, we would be playing when I just finished work. So sometimes it'd be 3 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock my time, um, and that was, and obviously, don't get me wrong, I've always enjoyed it. Uh, you know, After a long days of work, it was all kind of nice to just game and have some fun, right? But in your case too, it might have been quite difficult as well because sometimes if I told you to join after 4 or after 5 or after 3, my o'clock, my time, it's around nighttime, your time, right?
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, 11, whatever the case is. So there was also that too. Sometimes the tiredness. In one or two episodes, we actually played during my break, my lunch break,
Yeah.
and I think one time, which was pretty funny, because I had a very short. A very slow day, so we were playing while I was working towards the end of my shift. Funny enough, somebody sent me an email, "Hey, I need help with something." I'm like, "Yeah, just give me 2 minutes."
Yeah.
So, there was a lot, but honestly, I couldn't have said it better in terms of the final thoughts. I mean, it's kind of irritating what you said, but it really, you said it perfectly. It's just two guys, playing a game that they loved, that they grew up with, that they have fond memories of, and not just us. I mean, Street Fighter Two, Super Street Fighter Two is a world phenomenon, regardless of where you are in the world. you can find Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinets. You can find people that own Street Fighter 2. You could go to another country and maybe not speak their language and say, "Hey, Street Fighter 2," and they'll know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
So it's a game that wasn't, and that's why I like that we did this too. That it wasn't just special to you and I; it was special to dare I say, millions of people.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's yeah, it's probably fighting game wise. It's probably, especially from a retro perspective, it's probably one of the
Yeah,
most iconic ever made. Some people
yeah,
would argue now that other fighting games are maybe more currently famous, like Mortal Kombat, because of the more recent Mortal Kombat games. But I don't think. I think from a retro perspective and an iconic perspective, Street Fighter 2 is pretty much the peak. It is. I think for me, it is
it
the
is. It
definition of
is.
a one-on-one fighting game.
It is.
Um,
It is. And I think the way I see it, and I agree with that too, is that in terms of retro, in terms of 2D fighting, and even just fighting games, like we have to look at things from a world perspective. Mortal Kombat was also very big as well, and also had a great following around the world as well. But it wasn't on the same level as Street Fighter. And I love Mortal Kombat as well. Don't get me wrong. Like I have lots of love for Mortal Kombat as well. But Street Fighter 2 was just like if you didn't have, the way I see it, my thinking can be wrong here, but if you didn't have Street Fighter 2, you wouldn't have Mortal Kombat and any of these other fighting games. Like it
yeah,
really kicked off 2D tournament fighting games. For people to go ahead and be like, okay, that's a great fighting game. Let's see if I can make something. And even though Mortal Kombat is very different to Street Fighter in terms of contrast, look, and storyline and how it plays, at the end of the day, it's still a fighting game, right? So I do think that it might have drawn some sort of inspiration from Street Fighter 2 because, a lot of games did, and it's in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it's the most iconic fighting game, and probably one of the most iconic video games ever made.
I think probably the biggest bit of praise I could give it, and I don't think this is a stretch, if I'm honest. I think Street Fighter 2 and the subsequent Street Fighter 2 games like Championship Turbo, Super Turbo,
Yeah,
etc. They are to one-on-one fighting games what Super Mario Brothers was to platform games. Yes, there was other platform games before Mario. I'm giving
yeah,
Mario a shout out. It's the 40th anniversary last week, so but
that's it.
yeah, there were platform games before it, but it sort of set the standard. In the same way Super Mario Brothers set the standard of platform games. You have an invincibility. You have a power up. You start with 3 lives. You get points. You pick things up, whether it's coins, rings, whatever. Street Fighter 2 did the same thing. That standard of it's 2 out of 3 falls. There's a time limit. You've got an energy bar. You've got a variety of different fighters, the different fighting styles. Everyone's got special moves. All of those things that are just as standard now in one-on-one fighting games, they started with Street Fighter 2, and I'm glad we were able to do something so special for a game that, as you say, is very special for us, and also very special for a lot of other people around the world. But before we wrap up, I'm going to bring it away from Street Fighter 2 and I'm going to bring it back to RetroDuels, because very special announcement. Do you know what, Raza? You're the guest on the show. I'm going to let you make the announcement. Go for it. You've got the mic.
Okay. So the announcement is, guys, that I'm quitting YouTube. No, the announcement is
Dude,
that
don't worry, man. People will be having palpitations. None of their retro razzle love there, man. He is not quitting
well,
YouTube. I won't let him quit. Don't worry.
not yet, but I can't be doing it forever. But on a serious note, though, um, we have decided, and this is mutual, obviously,
Yeah,
that we are going to continue with the retro duels. And there was a lot of talk in terms of how we wanted to continue, right?
yeah.
If we wanted to do it, continuing with fighting games, with Street Fighter, do we want to take a different route? So we have decided we will continue with fighting games.
Yeah.
The next game, okay, which I'll simply say, I'm going to give very small hints, not too many. But basically, we're going to continue with fighting games, okay? As the name says, retro duels, right? It's going to be retro 16-bit.
Yeah.
It's a classic. And that's all I'll say because, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of great fighting games out there. But I feel like if I give out a little more clues, it might just give it away. So keep you guys a little bit in the suspense, in the comments if you like. You can maybe try to guess what it is, and then all in due time, you guys will get to see something, something different, and hopefully it will be something that you guys like. Saber, if you can, maybe just add a couple of things in terms of, I guess what you're looking forward to for the next. I guess we could say season, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
Um,
Season two of RetroDuels. I mean, I think for me, the idea is, I mean, I know that means we've got a lot of chaotic recording behind the scenes to come again. I will say the only bit of information I will give on top of what Raza has said is that it is something that we will be playing on the Nintendo Switch, but it is not a Nintendo Switch game. It is very much a retro game, a 16-bit game from those 16-bit consoles. It was a game I played as a kid, and I'm looking forward to doing the same again. But I think we talked briefly about, do we do Super Street Fighter 2, or do we do a sort of a bonus bit with just those 4 extra characters? And I think we just agreed it'd be really cool to do it on a completely different game, and then maybe down the line we do Super Street Fighter 2 and stuff. But right now we're going for a different game, but it's still going to have that 16-bit quality, that 16-bit retro feel that hopefully you all love. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a bit different. And yeah, should be fun. So I agree with Raza, but you shouldn't have too long to wait. Hopefully, if we're lucky, within the next month and a half, something like that, we'll be able to start recording it. It might come out sooner than that. It might come out longer than that. It just depends. But fingers crossed we'll be able to get that done. So keep an eye out on both channels. Before I wrap this up, I just want to throw it back to Raza for a minute. First of all, just to say, Raza, thank you very much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for doing RetroDuels, all of that. I appreciate that too. And I'm just going to throw it out to you to quickly give your channel a bit of a shout out, mate.
Most definitely. Thank you so much first for having me on, for making the time despite us having a 5-hour difference. It's always appreciative. And before I do, mention my channel, there was one question I just wanted to ask you, and I think this will actually be very interesting. So for the next Retro Duels, okay?
Yeah.
I just want to know what your prediction is of the overall outcome. So with the Street Fighter one, it would basically ended up in a tie, right? But in
Well,
this one,
let's
well,
be honest, right? It ended up in a tie on fights, but on
yeah.
individual wins, Raza did win it. I'm going to give that because it is important. It was a tie on fights, but you did win overall. So I'm going to give you that.
Well, I saw it as a tie because if I couldn't beat you with Ken, then I don't even deserve to win.
Okay, it was a
Ken
tie.
is one of my
It was a
favorites as
tie
well.
then.
So,
Fair enough.
but anyway, what I'm just trying to get at, what I want to know, and then I guess I can give my prediction after, is just for like a fun banter, and we could be honest, is do you see yourself? And again, this is overall, right? Do
Yeah.
you see yourself winning it? Do you see yourself losing it, or do you see it as a draw?
I know that this is a game I played a lot on the back in the day, and back then I was pretty damn good at it. What I will say is, playing it on the Switch, I am nowhere near what I was. So what I will say is, as it stands right now, I think it's got 50-50 written all over it, a big load of button mashing and spamming, and it could end up another draw. However, if I manage to in some way find my form that I had back in the day, I suspect I have a chance of winning it. I'll go with that, but that's only if I find the form that I used to have. I haven't done much in the way of practicing or anything yet, so I genuinely don't know. I have the potential, certainly a few characters in mind. I sort of think I could get him on that one. I could get him on that one, but a lot of it comes down to whether the controls flow as nicely on the Switch as they did back on the 16-bit consoles.
Okay, fair. So we'll say that it's more like either you win or a draw. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. My prediction is, I think, believe it or not, it's gonna be a draw again. I feel like with this retro duels, it's just always gonna end up being a
I
draw.
can see that.
So that's gonna be that's
Yeah.
gonna be my prediction there.
I think if it's not a draw, I think it'll be damn close every time.
Yeah, hopefully, because we wouldn't want a big washout either, as they say. But regardless, we'll see what happens. But I just thought that would be cool to get your insight. In terms of my channel, the Raz's Retro. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Discord as well. I don't really use the Discord as much as I would like to, or Instagram, but anybody that has those are always welcome to message me. And as mentioned, Raza _is _retro is the YouTube channel. Once again, big thank you to Saber for taking out the time to do the podcast. Big thank you to anybody that does end up watching this from start to finish, or even just a bit. It's always appreciative. And I'll just sign off by saying, no matter what happens in life, always remain retro.
Well, I can't really top that one, so I'm going to round it off the way I always do. I'm going to say a quick one more thank you to Raza. I'm going to say, anyone who's enjoyed this, please consider subscribing, put a like on the video, and do check out Raza's channel. And whilst you're remaining retro, please always remember to take the high ground.